Okay, I believe it's 5, Lee. Okay, great. So I am proud to call to order the November 8th Diversity Inclusion Task Force meeting. If you could please call the roll.
Starting with the council, Councilmember Nick Farr,
Here.
Councilmember and Chair Thier,
Here.
Councilmember Wellner is absent, Vice Mayor Fredericks,
Here.
Mayor Ryan.
Here.
And the at-large members, Karen Carrera is absent, Annette Harris,
Here.
Ruben Kalra.
Here.
Nushin Latour is absent, and Tina Shaw Pike.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, great. We will be taking public comment at the end of the meeting. So I'm going to start with our first action item, which is our strategic plan. And I believe, Tina, you'll be, okay, great. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So this is a continuation of the draft of the strategic plan that we started 2 months ago. Last time we talked about success metrics. This time we'd like to propose recommended initiatives for each of the 3 areas. So you'll see that in your attachment. The 3 areas, again, community engagement, town staffing, and policing. The ad hoc subcommittee met, and we'd like to recommend for community engagement that we host 4 cultural events per year, at least one of those being on Main Street with others at different locations. And these could include the kinds of events that we've had that are specific to cultures in the past, such as Juneteenth, Nowruz, Diwali, for example, and or could include a multicultural parade or fair, which brings multiple cultures together. And the thing we'd like to do as we relate this back to our success metrics is to ensure that there are tables at these events where we have education about the different government commissions and possibly representation of them from the homeowner association, so that we could begin to build a pipeline of underrepresented candidates for those commissions and leading up into the elected town council positions. So those are the community engagement proposals. For town staffing, we would like to recommend bias training for both the town staff and police to better, with the outcome of better serving the community, not necessarily better interacting with each other. We think that'll be a side product of such training, but we're most interested in making sure that we're really working with the community in the right ways for diversity, equity, inclusion. And this could expand to include the governance commissions as well. And then I'll come back to timing next, but the policing recommendation are twofold. One is a representative from the DITF on the CAP, which we already have in Karen Herrera, and the second one being annual RIPA assessments to pinpoint areas of concern in the RIPA data. And that is a proposal with the input of the police chief. So we feel good about these recommendations. And before I ask if others on the ad hoc committee would like to add anything, we'd like to propose a bit of a process in order to get ready to execute on these initiatives next year. And what we'd like to propose is in the December 13th meeting for the DITF, having an open invitation to the community, including members of the DITF, to present proposals on the community events, bias training, and RIPA assessment, so that we can evaluate who would like to get involved from the community to host some of these events. I don't think it has to be the DITF or reliant on town staff, for example. And would like to figure out a process by which to solicit that input so that we can have some kind of an estimate for the budget required for these initiatives. So I'll stop there and ask, I think Alice, you may be the only other representative from the ad hoc committee here, if there's anything to add.
Are we looking at me?
Am I no longer on there?
Oh, you, sorry, apologies, Annette. I think you were not there last time, but feel free to chime in.
Did you want to comment? This is probably too much in the weeds, but I did, after we put this together with your help, think of one resource with respect to how local government works. And when we do any outreach to the community at large, perhaps we could include some website links to the Institute for Local Government. That is a group put together by the League of California Cities. It's involved in the implementation of a lot of the ordinances and laws that affect how we govern. And they actually have specific workshops from time to time for people who are appointed to various boards like Planning Commission. And I just wanted that resource in the record.
I just wanted to say, wait, is it open for just comments now or wait, Annette, you're first. Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No, I just didn't want to be kicked off the.
You are hereby back on the committee that you were never kicked off of. How's that? Okay, I'll make a comment. I want to thank the committee, which includes Annette, for this work. I think it's very good, very valuable. I love the idea of making sure the events tie to different cultural events and having a minimum. I like the idea of having at least 4 and having 1 in downtown, closing down Main Street. I did have a question. There's under town staffing, there's a 3rd bullet that says December, and I wanted to know what that referred to.
That was extraneous, but essentially it refers to the bottom proposed process where we'd like to solicit proposals for anyone who wants to get involved in executing on this work.
Okay, and then when you're submitting the proposals for the work, will it be the committee leading it? Not leading it, but helping to organize the community members in terms of their feedback back to the DITF? Or are you thinking it would just be then a community lead that would work directly with the town? How would that work out?
I mean, I think for the events, what we had envisioned was similar to last year, the volunteers working directly with the town. I think that it would be important to pre-approve budgeting on all this so that we have a planned budget for the year.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
I will add one thing, and that is that the concept of having some of these celebrations in collaboration with each other, I think is very important, because you have Hispanic culture with South American. And then even this week, I noticed that we're having Indigenous peoples celebration, and we are celebrating the Miwok Indians and what they've done, here in Tiburon and in Marin. So I think that should be applauded and pursued.
Agreed, 100%.
Okay, do we have any more comments? I think we need a motion for this. It is an action item.
Should we,
Okay, yeah, we
excuse me.
will do public comment.
sorry, excuse me, we should open, yeah, public.
Yes, so we will now open public comment. Do we have any of the members of the public? And do we have any more members online right now?
No members online currently.
Okay, so I want to be respectful to them, but they aren't here. So we can go to public comment. Anyone that would like to make public comment? I don't see anyone in the room. Is there anyone online?
Seeing none.
Okay, great. So I will move to adopt the strategic plan, item A1, which is the approval of the proposed initiatives for the 2024 to 2025 period, and the proposed process for soliciting proposals from the community at large regarding DEI initiatives as stated in the attachment to the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Lee, would you like to call the roll?
You don't need a roll call vote for this, but I'm happy
Okay.
to call one if you'd like one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so now we are moving to A12, which is 2024 events. The main reason this is on the agenda is for Juneteenth, and I will let Ruben take the lead.
So when I requested Holly to put this on the agenda, it was just because we've had really successful Juneteenth events sort of help put us on the mark for diversity inclusion task force celebrations. And I know Noah and Annette want to make sure we also get this event moving forward. But in the spirit of like collaboration, seeing that you already have December 13th, I can just propose it then. Because the challenge is it's often hard times to secure the necessary vendors, and I think having December should be adequate notice, and I think it would be nice just to get everyone's input before like trying to have Juneteenth be in the lead. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Did you have an opportunity to discuss the potential dates with anyone?
No, but yeah.
Understand.
Hey, do we have more comments on the Juneteenth budget? Location? Anyone? Okay, thank you, Ruben. This is just really a placeholder, for the next item. Do we need an action on that?
I think there was a need for an action last year on the dollar amount, was there not?
Yeah, no, but in light of Tina's proposal to have all the events discussed for next month, I just thought it would be fair to get input from the community and then have the community help decide. And or I have the budget, I have the location, and move forward. But I just thought, yeah, it'd be nice, I think, for the community to do it in December, and then we can hopefully
Okay.
garner some input.
Okay, perfect.
Is there anything specific we should talk about in terms of the location or the budget in this meeting, or is it just kind of like flagging it for the next?
You know,
meeting?
I think it's fine to do it next meeting, but the request was going to be for Main Street, similar budget as last year.
Okay.
And, you know, there's 2 weekends to choose from where we can decide that. Annette wants to be collaborative, so we're going to talk to Marin City about when they're doing theirs, and then we can sort of like figure out an optimal time, which we've done in the past. So
Okay.
it's not urgent. So
I think that's perfect. And we have plenty of time because this event is in June, Juneteenth. And so we will put off the vote until next meeting.
I had one public comment.
And public comment.
Which was just, in consideration of the one event on Main Street, I think that we should discuss, so how do we go about deciding which one that is? It has historically been Juneteenth, but if we're gonna do a multicultural fair or event, maybe it could be that one. So I'd like to propose some kind of process for determining that.
Okay, and I do not believe that we are limited to one event on Main Street. I'm gonna turn to staff to correct me, but I believe that the vote that was taken by the council was 6 meetings, of which the chamber is taking 3. Is that correct?
I believe you're correct.
So
Sure,
that would
there.
leave 3 events that we could propose. Now, would we get all 3? I don't know. But I think we should try. I don't see any reason for us not to try. So at the next meeting, I want to make it clear that this is not one slot for Main Street. Just so we don't have to fight over events. Okay. Jack is having a very active cell phone tonight. So it's been talking to me. Okay, I think we took public comment for that, but let's take it again just to be sure. I don't see anyone in the room. Is there anyone online?
Seeing none.
Okay, so now we are going to move on to our discussion items. D1, report on first CAP meeting and progress. I would like to move this to the December meeting because it is actually our chief of police's anniversary tonight. And,
She's at a Queen concert, just so you know.
okay, yeah, it would be very hard to call in from the Queen concert. So if there's no objection, we'll move this item to the next meeting. D1-2 is diversity inclusion task force rules and makeup. And I am going to let Annette speak to this one and start us off.
I will. I raised at the last meeting and during the opportunity of the 3-minute sessions that I thought it would be a good idea for us to discuss this, not necessarily action at this meeting, but that it should not be put off. And by discussion, I mean, we have had a little bit of a hiccup or two in the last 8 or 9 months with regard to our meetings. And some of the reasons are vacations or lack of a quorum et cetera, et cetera. And I thought this would be the appropriate forum for us to begin the discussion. And again, I'm not proposing action tonight, but I would like to see us begin the discussion, and that is that we have not had great optics in the community. That does not look good for us. We have had, and I think appropriate criticism about the fact that what are we doing? You know, we're not doing anything. And if we don't meet, then it doesn't appear that we're doing anything. And while we may have our own opinions based on what happens here, what happens in the public eye is a different animal. The other thing is that I want to refer us back to our mission. And our mission is to respond to, because we were appointed by the town council, and we are here to serve the general public. So I would like for us to begin a discussion, whether it's deferred or dismissed, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's our responsibility to at least begin the discussion about how we meet, when we meet, and how effective we are. I'm going to always go back to my premise of having measurable goals. And I'd like to see us put in a position where we do have measurable goals and we don't have them if we don't meet. So that's the beginning of the discussion that I'm approaching.
Okay, great. Do we have any comments right now?
I would like to throw something out, just for consideration when we do actually have a discussion, that comes to some kind of a conclusion. One of the things that's odd about this particular group, is that the council also serves on it, and there are other alternatives, and I think when we have this discussion, we should consider them. As Annette pointed out, it's been difficult sometimes to meet. We've had canceled meetings, no quorum. It took us 2 years to get to today's to-do list for the next year, and we're still cranking on a strategic plan. Whether changing the structure will hurry things up or not, that's up for discussion. But let's just look at what the alternatives are and at least consider the view I have of them. In the first place, this could be a standing committee or commission with or without the council. My view is that with the council, there's no clear advantage. The presence of the council does not add to the process. It makes informal discussions and quorums more complicated. The community members who are very vital to us get hung up in Brown Act discussions or restrictions. And more so than if it were a standing committee without a council and more of a community group. But in any case, the other option, standing board without a council, is still subject to the Brown Act, but it reduces the council duplicative presence. It'll be key in community outreach and information gathering. It'll be presenting research and analyzed recommendations as it does now. It would still have Brown Act restrictions, but they'd be simpler. You don't have to look at both, whether you're avoiding the quorum of the council and the quorum of the committee itself. It's just a simpler process. The third option is a community group like Mill Valley. I know some people think that somehow it's not as important, it's not as effective, but this is not the time to compare how effective we have been with community groups. Here in Tiburon, we have really effective community groups. One of them is the Interfaith Climate Action Group. They're a group of very knowledgeable people who have educated themselves. Some come with that expertise from what they do in their lives. The council really relied on their recommendations. They were indispensable in adding a sustainability section to the general plan, which was Councilmember Wellner's idea, but they were very involved in fleshing it out. And in helping us look at the REACH codes and how it would work for us and what the what the object of doing that is. So the point of all of that is that community groups really are very effective if they educate themselves and do their work, as this particular and some other groups of the past have done. The advantages are there are no Brown Act restrictions. You get much better community engagement. It becomes a community initiative, not just a government process, and potentially it attracts people who are uncomfortable speaking to government processes and really want to be engaged in the particular issues that this committee addresses. I think it'll also make it easier to collaborate with other groups that have the same missions, and they'll also be able to call meetings as needed, flexible hours and flexible sites, and the group can choose its members. The community group we have on this particular task force are just extraordinary. They just bring so much experience and actually different views of how to accomplish things, and that's really crucial. So those are the alternatives that we can discuss at some other time if we want to make a decision about the structure of this committee.
Okay, do we have other comments? I see Mr. Wellner, Councilmember Wellner has joined us. Hello. Do we have other comments on this from anyone?
I just have one other comment, which is regardless of how we compose the committee and work together, it would be wonderful if we could establish just a regular time for the coming year. And if that's going to change, be notified in advance.
See, Mr. Nick Farr. Is your button on?
Yeah, so I'm new to the task force, and I think what the task force is doing is incredibly important, and it's great to see that the strategic plan is coming along, and setting the course for the next year. I think in terms of someone coming in here new and having served on a commission in town, there are some challenges to that structure. I think coming from parks, one of the biggest challenges that we had was being able to relay context and other bits of information that would help town council make a decision on a recommendation that we had, because our meetings weren't attended by town council. In the 7 years I think I was on post, I think we had members of town council join maybe a handful of times. So I think that's the risk, I think, in shifting, is that if you change the body from something that includes town council, something that doesn't, you may also risk losing that contextual sort of connectivity where town council members are hearing things firsthand. But I'm sure there are ways, there are potentially ways, to mitigate that. And I thought Alice made a lot of really great points in what she had to say. I think my bringing that up is more of like, there are some challenges to other approaches, and I think we should make sure we understand those sort of going in and maybe plan for those if the group does decide they want to change. I think the work that this group is doing is in its really early stages, and I think that a lot like for those of us that have tried growing houseplants, either before or after COVID, it was a big thing. You need sunlight, you need water, you've got to feed the plant. So I think the other concern that I would have for this group, like any other brand new commission, is want to make sure that it's getting the attention and the resources and all the things that it needs to thrive. So I think that's also something for us to think about and is really important to that discussion in whatever form that it takes. So I'm not advocating for leaving things in the current form, but what I am saying is there are some challenges to other forms. We should probably think about those, maybe in like a matrix or something with check boxes of what you have and what you don't have. And also think about like the importance of this task force and making sure that it does have resources and budget and all the things that it does need to thrive.
Isaac, as you said, it's important in the process of discussion that we weigh what the
Yes.
alternatives are. And one of the points that I want to bring up is that I don't think at this point in discussion, and this is not directed towards you personally, it's for everyone, I don't think we're stating either or. I think we're stating, let's discuss it. Because in my world or in my discussions with other individuals who have had similar experiences as yours or similar experiences as Mill Valley, is that perhaps, and I don't know until we discuss it, perhaps our alternative is to have the task force with 1 or 2 members of the town council being involved. And then that still gives us the advantage that we've had in the past and the access. So I just wanted to put that on the table.
Okay, do we have more? Ruben, I see you have your hand up. Please
Yeah,
go
and
ahead.
you know, Annette and I've chatted with a number of you on this, and it's a good discussion. I think we have to go back to why the task force was created. It was elevated because of the Emmett incident, and I think it showed that Tiburon cares. And part of the discussion is diversity, diversity, inclusion, and equity still like a top priority for Tiburon. It would be like one question that sort of comes to mind. And the one thing that, we talked about was, just, we hadn't been meeting a little bit, is we can probably do that. I think we had a meeting earlier this year where, it's a short meeting. So we ended up discussing items is, a lot of us still want to meet to, drive the process forward. Is even if we don't have quorum or there's a vacation, is there any reason we just can't meet? Because we feel like we can get things that are productive and then make it priority items at the next meeting in its current state. But that's just, some of the thought process that we had to, I don't think it was necessarily a Browns Act issue. I don't think we've had many issues in terms of the structure recently. I think after we learned the rules, it hasn't been that much of an issue. But yeah, it's open for discussion. And it's great to get like your viewpoint, because I was curious if things slow down with commissions because it's less of a priority. Agenda gets heated for something else and you get turfed to the next meeting. You're like, shoot, we have a Juneteenth event to plan. And you're like, we just don't have the budget or time to do it. But
Right.
that's just
I
one thing.
think that's true. I think the other piece that I would also say, and thank you for raising those, it is a discussion. I agree. And I'm looking forward to that discussion. I think one other area that I haven't heard brought up that generally isn't an issue when there are hot topics with a commission is public involvement. I think just for example, if there's an issue with a certain street in certain neighborhoods in town, people come out in droves, right? And town council has no shortage of those issues. For parks, when we have those issues, people show up and they call in, and sometimes we get attorneys that call in on behalf of neighborhoods. I think one of the things I would also love to see, being a new person on this commission, is I would love to see a little more public engagement. I think we've all heard from people in the community about how important this work is, but I would also like to maybe see some folks from the community tune in, join via Zoom, come in person, something like that, to show how important it is to the town also. I think that's also a really important piece. And if the timing needs to be adjusted to get more engagement from people in town or from Belvedere, et cetera, I'm open to that too. So sometimes having a commission meeting being a little later helps get more people to come after work. I'm just saying that I'm open to that.
The other thing
Do we
about,
have other? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The other thing about discussion is that when we have these discussions, it doesn't mean that we have to have an action during that time. We can still meet, invite the public, and communicate. We don't have to have them come, as you've experienced, and many of us have experienced, for an all-out brawl, so to speak. So, and then I just have one comment that I want to ask Ruben. Were your comments based at all on that shark that you encountered on Monday? Would you share with them?
She knows I like to surf, and so I often go to Cronkite Beach, which is 15 minutes away, and so I happen to be the furthest out. Saw a nice 9 foot shark jumping out there. Fortunately, I slowly just, got back out. But no, it wasn't motivated by that, but there are
Okay,
sharks
just one.
out there.
Just one.
It was a friendly shark. There's sometimes friendly sharks.
Okay, who hasn't yet spoken that would like to speak? Jack, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, and so I'm not going to say anything new, but I appreciate you bringing this up. And I know we're talking about discussing when we're going to discuss it, but I'm happy to say that my opinion, someone's got to be the first step forward, is that we should move the pendulum from slightly to make it less cumbersome. I feel like this is like the maximally cumbersome in terms of what we can do and how often we can do it. And then the citizens advisory group with no council members would be the most nimble, but the least attached. So some step towards that. I don't necessarily we need to go all the way, but I would certainly be in favor of moving that in that direction just to see if we can change the pace. And I thought that it was an interesting point. I don't know if it was Isaac made it, but in terms of like re-engaging the public, there might be an appetite for people. I mean, we had a lot of candidates who interviewed for roles on, for seats on this who we don't see anymore. And it would be great. And if we had a less formal process, we would re-engage them. And so I just think, and I totally appreciate Ruben's point about the visibility. But I think it like sort of sacrificing a little of that for some accelerated speed and progress would be interesting to at least try for a while.
I'm gonna turn to people who haven't yet spoken, Alice.
Let me just follow up on him first, please.
Okay, but some people haven't yet spoken, so I'm gonna let them speak first.
Who's not spoken?
Councilmember Wellner hasn't spoken. I haven't
Oh.
spoken.
Well, let me follow up
Oh,
just because
okay.
it's relevant and because it's just 2 sentences. With respect to the public engagement, which I feel strongly about too, my experience in 20 years of public service has been, if there is an issue in the news or an issue that directly affects people, they will show up. If you're trying to build a better tomorrow, there's less attendance to that. And it's really sad. That's it.
Okay. No problem. I just didn't want to go to round 2 till we had round 1. Are there any comments? Councilmember Wellner has his hand up.
Yeah, I guess I think this is a really interesting conversation, and I'm eager to think about it and hear from everyone. I would like to say that I think at least to remind everyone that when this task force was created, it was created in a special way to show the level of priority that it had. And I think there was a concern, we wanted to make sure that every council member participated and that it was seen by the community as a top priority to be considered. And so I think I worry a little bit that if we change that, both on a real and on a symbolic level, it would appear that the committee is becoming less important. So I would just caution that we think both about, I like the way Jack put it in terms of the continuum, but that we think about it, what it would say to people if we took the full council off the committee.
Okay, so I guess I will make a few comments now. So I do think that this task force has accomplished a great deal. We held the first Juneteenth ever in Tiburon. We also held many other events. So I did kind of want to talk a little bit about that. We're now working on a strategic plan, and we have not been in existence for that long. I want to thank Annette for bringing up the discussion. I think it's a good discussion to look at the makeup. I also think that having the whole town council does elevate this task force. I also think it makes items take less time, because as a town council member, I'm not waiting for something to appear on an agenda. And our agendas do get full, and commissions, that's probably the biggest complaint that I do hear, is that they can't get something on the agenda. And then, I have to go and ask, the mayor at the time, hey, can we get this on the agenda? And sometimes there's items before it. But a lot of the decisions that are made in this body are just made. You're not having to come back to town council. Quorums are always an issue during the summer. And, I think that, those issues are always going to be with any body. I do believe that taking this structure and taking the council off is not something that I personally would support. I know we're not discussing this yet, but there was a lot of discussion about it. So, with respect to the Brown Act, it would still be a Brown Act body. Our town council, sure, we can't talk to each other, but that quorum issue is us. So it's not an impediment to the work of this committee. It means that 5 town council members can't be on an ad hoc committee of this committee, but we wouldn't do that anyway. So I don't see that as a big impediment, but the one thing that I really want to correct is that this task force has accomplished a great deal in the short time that we've been here. Mill Valley's task force has imploded. It is not part of the Mill Valley government, and the same with Fairfax. We are one of the few diversity and inclusion task forces in Marin that has remained a working group, a working body. I would like to see things move, faster always. But what I can say is that the place that we've come to, having the events, figuring out what our mission is, and creating a strategic plan, I really do believe that a lot of good work has been done. I think that there's nothing wrong with a discussion. I just wanted to be upfront my thoughts on this. One of the things I would like to change is right now only the chair and vice chair of this diversity and inclusion task force can only come from the town council. And I think that, when that rule was made, our entire town council was white. I was the first person to say that I don't feel comfortable, having 5 white people decide who the chair is. So that is a rule I would like to see changed. I would like community members to be able to chair this. I do not believe it has to be a member of the town council, and that is a change that I would really want to see. In addition, our meetings are open now. We have created a structure so that anybody can participate. Getting people to meetings is always difficult. We do have Zoom, and I do think that was something interesting brought up during this discussion. That's kind of a side discussion, but something that I'd like to see, on a future agenda is how do we increase participation in our meetings, both people coming or at minimum coming by Zoom. I think it's changed depending on what issues are on the agenda, and depending on who participates. But I do think that we've had a lot of great work out of this committee, and I am proud of everyone and what they've done. So I just want to say that.
I have a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
Respectfully, I hope that we can leave vacations and quorums out of the discussion, because I think our behavior by missing or not having 4 meetings out of 8 makes a statement. And so I would hope that when we have further discussion, we don't include vacations that would span from April, June, July, August, or quorums because of vacations, that be a factor, a major factor.
Oh, I was just trying to say that people have different scheduling things. It's not, I didn't mean to say vacations, but I do think that, I'm talking about during the summer, we do often cancel meetings. We do not meet in July. None of the bodies meet in July. But there are summers that we have had to cancel other meetings because people have different schedules. But I agree with you. People should be here. It's important. And, we work really hard never to cancel a meeting. And I want to let you know how hard Lee has worked and I have worked. We have asked for different dates. We have done everything to try to reschedule meetings when we haven't received a quorum. And so I agree with you, Annette. We need to make sure that our members are keeping it a priority and scheduling their plans at different times.
And I applaud whoever came up with the idea of the hybrid meeting tonight. We could have been
Right.
doing this all
Sure.
along where we have people here physically, but also people electronic.
And that is a great idea. I think we're saying the same thing. Are there any more comments on this issue before I take public comment?
Just to respond to Annette, I think one of the things I just realized moving forward because of your hard work, and Tina's and Alice and whoever else was on the strategic plan committee. Now we're going to have other people hopefully involved from the community where even without a meeting, we're driving progress forward. And so thank you. And Holly, thanks for being an awesome chairperson. Appreciate it.
And let me just add, I can't take credit for the strategic plan. Karen and Tina did most of the work. The council can't take credit for it yet.
Great. So do we have anything else, or I'm gonna?
Just one other thing on in the sort of public engagement area. A lot of folks that I've talked to for different boards and commissions and for town council don't really understand at the beginning of a meeting when there's public comment and you can comment on anything that is not on the agenda. It is an absolutely appropriate time to join a meeting like this and bring up an issue that, again, isn't on the agenda, but that is important to an individual that we should be thinking about or that another body should be thinking about. And I think just to kind of get back to that public engagement, it's somewhere where, the whether it's via Zoom or in person, people that talk to us on a daily basis or a weekly basis, this meeting is an opportunity for them to dial in even electronically. And in that first, couple agenda and within the first few agenda items of a meeting, so not even having to be here for more than 10 or 15 minutes to be able to voice a concern and to bring up, a big important issue to them. As again, I think it's really important that we, sort of evangelize that or make sure that everyone in the community knows that is their time to sort of to speak up about an issue that's important to them.
I have a question for staff, actually, just to clarify, and this is not about public and participation by Zoom. This is about Brown Act restricted groups. And there's been some new legislation passed about when and how often the members of boards, commissions, councils can participate by Zoom. Can someone clarify that?
Actually, I'm going to ask for that to be done offline, Alice, only because Ben had given us a memo on that. Because it's the new Brown Act and the old Brown Act.
I know, but we have been discussing it, so I think
Okay.
we should have a clarification that the public can hear.
Okay, if you can do it quickly.
Yeah,
'cause it's not, it's actually not on our agenda. So I don't know.
It's
I
related
see-
to the discussion. It was brought
Alice,
up.
Alice, I'm going to ask our town attorney because I don't know if we can do that. And I'm not trying to shut it down because I think it's a good idea, but maybe we could bring this back to the next meeting, or can this be discussed right now?
If it's related to the discussion about the structure, and your question is about the Zoom rules of when you can, when a board member can hop on Zoom. If, we can quickly address that and then, if it's related to the discussion here.
Yes, no, that is
structure.
perfect. If we can discuss it, let's discuss it. And then maybe we all need,
And you can keep it short, yeah.
So standard Brown Act rules is a quorum has to be in the room for one. Second, members can call in, they can teleconference in. This law existed before COVID. This is how Councilmember Wellner's joining us today. He has the agenda posted at his location. We had to put the address of where he is on our agenda, and it has to be posted. He has to be calling in from an open and public location. So that's always been true. However, the caveat there is we do have to have a quorum in the room. The newer rules, since COVID, the new rules or the new laws that Vice Mayor Fredericks was referring to, we can call in to meetings without having to post the agenda and all of everything I just said, but you're limited to doing it. I think it's twice a year.
Thank you.
Great. Do we have anything else on this item before I forget about, before public comment? Anyone? Okay, so let's do public comment.
Seeing none.
And I do not see anyone in the room. So I am now going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned.